Wild wrecks and crazy crashes as always, but if you're one of those people who likes leaving gaps in traffic, you're really gonna hate this episode. Buckle up! Want to see how Matt's Toyota Corolla became one of 5 vehicles wrecked by a red light runner? Watch carefully because the action happens fast. Matt was crossing an intersection with a green light when a pickup driver ran his red light before getting T-boned by another pickup truck and by Matt's Corolla. The pickup then continued until it had collided with 2 more vehicles, making this a 5-vehicle collision. After Matt showed his footage to the police and they collected witness statements, they found the pickup driver responsible. The pickup driver was uninsured, so Matt had to make a claim with his own insurance provider. They totaled his Corolla after the repair estimate reached over $17,000 US. Instead, they cut him a check for just over $13,000. James witnessed another crazy collision, this time on a highway. After 2 drivers raced past him, one of them lost control of his red Mustang and clipped a car before spinning into the median barrier. James stopped even while one of the Mustang's tires continued rolling. He called the police, then waited for them to respond so he could show them his dashcam footage. After viewing it, an officer told him he'd email him an upload link so the footage could be added as evidence for the collision investigation. But James said he never heard from them. Hopefully that means the situation was resolved. Haley watched someone else have an interaction with the police after the driver of a Volkswagen Beetle sped past an unmarked cop car. It didn't take long for the officer to turn on the party lights. It did take a little while for the VW driver to pull over, though. Haley continued as the bug driver pulled into a church parking lot to receive their serving of instant justice, which likely included a stern lecture. Our next submitter is also about to get a stern lecture, but not from the police. Jeffrey left a gap when he wasn't required to, yielding the right-of-way that was rightfully his to a driver waiting to turn into a parking lot. While we have no doubt that Jeffrey was trying to be courteous, fans should know by now that leaving a gap when not required, like in this case, isn't courteous, it's dangerous. Close the gap. Jeffrey told us he assumed the turning driver would wait until it was clear, and they certainly should have, but that doesn't change the fact that this collision couldn't have happened if Jeffrey hadn't left a gap. After the turning SUV hit a pickup, it pushed another SUV into a 4th vehicle. Jeffrey told us he then turned around and left, not calling 911 because he saw other people doing so. Mario didn't call 911 either, but that's probably because neither driver involved in what he witnessed stopped. And we're not even totally sure what he witnessed. See if you can figure it out.
Oh my.
Mario thinks the driver ahead of him tossed something out of their window, possibly some food or a drink, which exploded against an oncoming van, leaving a stain down its side. Mario told us he hates when people toss trash onto the road, but chucking it at another vehicle is even more irresponsible. Oddly enough, neither driver stopped. Tell us in the comments what you think the object was. Silavat was nearly a victim of someone else failing to close the gap when he was on his way home after dropping off a coworker. Watch what happened after a driver ahead tried to be courteous to someone waiting to turn. Silavat is thankful he wasn't yet up to speed as he had to slam on his brakes to avoid T-boning the turning car. He had this message to share with our viewers: get a dash cam and close the gap. Shred was up to speed, doing 78 miles per hour down a Maryland highway when one SUV hit another right next to him, and he only barely avoided getting hit as they both spun out of control. Shred was glad the roads were dry and that he'd managed to squeeze past the 2 SUVs just in the nick of time, especially considering he was driving his son's Honda Civic at the time. He told us he called 911 right away. Foxy didn't need to call 911 because the cops were fully aware when the driver of a Porsche ran a red light right in front of multiple police vehicles. Before you comment, I will never pronounce Porsche any other way. In fact, if you ever hear me pronounce it differently, you'll know Max has replaced me with AI. Porsche. Foxy told us she had a good laugh after witnessing the cops serve up some instant justice. She also mentioned she needs to upgrade to a better dash cam. Don't forget to check out our recommendations in the description. What we don't recommend is turning in front of an oncoming vehicle, which is exactly what Scott witnessed as he was driving along at about 35 miles per hour. An oncoming driver suddenly turned in front of an SUV, but they never reached the gas station they were headed for. Scott stopped and checked on the drivers, providing the SUV driver with a copy of his footage. He also showed this video to a responding police officer, who cited the driver of the blue sedan for causing the collision. Sadly, Scott thinks both involved vehicles were totaled in the wreck. Thankfully, Darren was able to swerve around what suddenly crossed his path as he made his way down a Colorado highway. A gaggle of deer charged across the highway in front of Darren, but he was able… What's wrong with gaggle? Okay, how about this? He was able to swerve around the swarm of deer and didn't hit any of them. Swarm is no good? How about pack? Squad? A stack of deer? Wait, I've got it. Darren told us he was definitely woken up that morning after having to dodge around the school of deer. He also told us he really liked our Worst Drivers of Colorado special episode. If you haven't seen it yet, we'll put a link to it at the end of this video. Robin was on her way to work when she spotted a wild wreck in her rearview mirror. It looks like the driver of a white sedan nearly merged into another vehicle before overcorrecting and losing control. The car ran into a semi-truck pulling an empty flatbed trailer, sending it careening off the road and into a ditch. Robin said she bought the dashcam we recommend in the description just a few months before this happened. Pumpkin Medic encountered today's Tesla behaving badly when the driver of an older Model 3 made a questionable U-turn before cutting around an SUV to run a red light.
That Tesla man can't drive. That Tesla man can't drive. That Tesla man can't drive. That Tesla man can't.
Terrible, just terrible. The aero wheels, I mean. His driving is bad too, don't get me wrong, but the sport wheels are the only way to go. At least he got the color right. That deep blue metallic is gorgeous. Sadly, plenty of other drivers out there behave badly too. Alex had just gone through a roundabout when the driver of the semi-truck in front of him merged into the side of a Toyota hatchback. Alex told us he stopped and spoke with the Toyota driver, then later sent them a copy of his dashcam footage. Thankfully, it doesn't look like anyone was seriously injured. William also managed to escape injury, even though he was almost T-boned on his way to school. See if you can spot the critical mistake that nearly resulted in a collision. Yet again, a courteous driver failed to close the gap, and when an oncoming driver turned through it, they almost hit William's Honda Civic. Both drivers stopped to check for damage, but thankfully no contact had been made. Okay, we need to say it one more time. We're not advocating for blocking intersections. Close the gap is about leaving a gap when you aren't required to, like in this situation when the oncoming driver was waiting to turn into a driveway. Don't pull into an intersection if you'll be stuck in the middle of it when the light changes, but if someone is waiting to enter or exit a driveway, don't create a dangerous situation. Let them wait. It's safer for everyone. Close the gap. One thing we can all agree is dangerous is not paying attention in stop-and-go traffic. This submitter watched the driver of a sedan find out the hard way that highway slowdowns are not the time to be on your phone. Love and Life told us that as he drove past the wreck, the driver of the silver Ford was still looking at his phone. He stopped and made sure everyone was okay before providing his contact info to the driver of the SUV. Love and Life asked us to shout out his sons, Kiaran and Bo, and he told us they never miss a Wham Bam video. In fact, Wham Bam Tesla Cam videos inspired him to buy a Tesla Model Y. David not only has seen every episode of Wham Bam Tesla Cam and Wham Bam Dashcam, he told us he's now watching them all for a second time. Check out what he encountered one day while driving in Kansas. A turning driver somehow ended up on the wrong side of a traffic island, leaving them no choice but to drive down the wrong side of the road until they had an opportunity to turn into a parking lot. David pointed out he also owns the dashcam we recommend. I think it's safe to say that David is a super fan. If you're enjoying the video, don't forget to subscribe and help us keep this show on the road. Aaron struggled to stay on the road when a turning Nissan Altima invaded his lane, sideswiping his Ford Escape. After the Nissan driver turned into the wrong lane and collided with Aaron's SUV, he continued driving as though nothing had happened. Aaron followed after him, flashing his high beams and honking until he pulled over. He quickly found out why the Altima driver was running. He was both unlicensed and uninsured. Aaron managed to get his ID and his car's VIN before the driver took off again, along with his plate number on video. He told us that fixing the damage to his Escape's front bumper cover and fender, along with repairing the front strut and fixing the alignment, will end up costing him about $400 in parts and paint. Philip was on his way home after a 9-hour shift as a delivery driver, but it wasn't time for him to let his guard down yet. Check out what another driver did while Philip was driving at around 40 miles per hour. Philip told us he reacted so late because he thought the driver was going to merge into the right lane. When the other driver noticed Philip swerving to go behind him, he floored the accelerator to get out of the way. Thanks to Philip's skilled driving, this incident ended up being nothing more than a scary close call. But he told us it was a really quiet ride home. We've got one last Close the Gap submission this week, but this collision might not be the gap maker's fault. Rick watched a driver turn between SUVs after traffic had started moving before hitting a pickup truck he hadn't seen. It seems like the car driver cut off an SUV, forcing the creation of a gap, but he hadn't expected a pickup in the far lane. Rick went back and provided a copy of his dashcam footage to the pickup driver. Rick wanted to shout out his family for being the best. We think you're the best, Rick. Thanks for being a loyal fan of the channel. MDX Mama had an encounter with a group of juvenile Canadians when a family of geese crossed the road, forcing traffic to a halt. Thankfully, nobody collided with Ryan or any of the other goslings. It was just last week that we featured another submitter's encounter with an even bigger group of feathered foreigners. Go watch that episode if you missed it. Or check out the video Darren mentioned earlier, Wham Bam's Worst Drivers of Colorado, Volume 1. We'll be back next week with more, so be sure to subscribe.
Wham, bam, we got a Patreon, man. Please support the show.